So at this stage, we are tasked with creating a pattern. This pattern we're going to use to actually modify the surface so it's no longer exactly the same surface that it was before. The reason is, if you think about the logic of this, if I want to start cutting a bunch of different holes on all these different surfaces, it can get pretty crazy, especially if you want to carry a contiguous surface across or a contiguous pattern across the surface. It gets really difficult because then you have to bend a pattern across a skewed angle in three-dimensional space. So this simplifies it, gives us a flat canvas upon which we can do our work, and then we can modify that canvas appropriately. So, and then reapply it. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to kind of follow what Iggy was doing because I think I'm going to institute some of his videos here in class tonight as well. But I'm going to start the pattern actually by bringing in just polygons. And polygons are pretty simple. They're pretty self-explanatory. If you just click on the polygon command, all it says is that it wants you to place an inscribed polygon, or you can change it to circumscribed. That's what this one is. Do you know the difference between inscribed and circumscribed? All right. Let's look at a triangle. An inscribed, let me see if I can get this right. An inscribed triangle is going to be where the 3 points are fully positioned within the circle. A circumscribed triangle is going to be positioned so that the tangent meets every edge. And then you get the Deathly Hallows. So, yeah, it is. So we're going to do, it doesn't really matter, I don't care what you guys do, we're just trying to create a polygon. I'm just explaining what your options are here. So I'm going to leave it where it is, inscribed. Number of sides, I like hexagons a little better, so I'm going to change it to 6. And I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about this, edge, star, vertical, round curve. They're a little bit more advanced when you have particular uses for them. I urge you to explore them, but we don't have to worry about it too much. So without getting into too much detail, when you place it in space, this is kind of how it works. So I can make one that's approximately, I'm going to start off with that size. I wouldn't make it too big because we're going to create a pattern across this. And then I'm going to create 2 more. I'm going to go to the top view here. Probably should redo that so it's straight or something. I don't know, maybe it's better if it's not. I'll do it askew like that. That's too big. So something that's kind of yay big like that. And I'll do a couple more that are slightly smaller every time. Sort of like that. Okay? So to get started here, I'm going to copy and paste this across my surface. And actually, I don't really want to have the labels in the way. But notice how it's all one big group. If I select it, the labels come with it. I can explode it. Oh no, it won't let me. Hold on. Oh, sorry. Not explode. Don't explode it. Ungroup.
Did you say you had a preference for ungroup, circumscribed, or inscribed?
No. No, I don't care. So don't explode it. Ungroup it. So I ungrouped it, and now I move this down. And so this is going to be my canvas upon which to apply my pattern. So I'm going to start with the big one. You guys can follow along. This part is like really simple. I'm just doing stuff you already know how to do, copies, moves, simple commands. So I'm going to copy the large one across space. So I'm going to just kind of pick a spot on it and start dropping it in. Oops, sorry. I don't want that to be on the edge. So I'll copy it like this. Whoop. Copy. And I'm going to start just kind of creating a path of these. I keep doing that. Across the surface like that. So it's a little random, a little intuitive. Then I'm going to grab a second one. And the way Iggy likes to do it is he's got this whole logic about how he sets up a pattern. For me, I'm a little bit more tactile. So he likes to create a curve like this to trace his path across the surface. You don't have to do that. I'm just putting this out there if you want to be a little bit more organized about it. So then his second level of hexagons, he'll pick them and start to place them along that curve wherever they'll fit. So let me turn off. See how I'm kind of like accidentally grabbing too much object snap and smart track and it's kind of messing me up? I can't place it smoothly. So let's turn off object snap and smart track for this. Now I can kind of just place it smoothly wherever I want. Do you guys see the difference? So go ahead and make sure you see the difference. Okay. So I begin to kind of place these in space, kind of like this. Pretty intuitive. Doesn't need to be anything super intense. And then I get the small one, and I do the same thing. So here we have, I'm going to get rid of the path now, we have a mega dynamic kind of pattern that's going across the surface. And just a shameless plug here, if you guys take the I think it's 222 they call it now, the ARC 222 class where it's Grasshopper, you'll learn how to make incredibly dynamic, super powerful parametric patterning sequences that are really, really cool. And if you're interested, I'll show you some. But anyway, the pattern here is pretty simple, right? We've got a bunch of curves that live in plane with a surface. See how they're in exactly the same plane there? So if I want to cut those out, you can essentially, what's the best way? Is it trim? Would trim work? Trim will work. So you can use the trim command. And let me get this stuff even further out of the way. So I'm going to just select all these and deselect those. I'm going to activate trim. And I'm going to select. And so watch, guys, watch real quick kind of the way that I select everything. So I'm doing a left to right select. And I'm going to go over everything except for just the smallest little corner of the surface itself. That means I'm going to select just the curves, not the surfaces. If you happen to select all surfaces but the little one, the panel where the corner that you did not select is, that means that you accidentally exploded your surfaces. You might want to do that eventually, but that's fine. So I hit enter with these as cutting objects, and I select the object that I want to trim, which is right here. So I can trim out the surface in every single one of my, whoop, I did it on the outside. So you just need to click inside all of these volumes. You might be able to do a Boolean difference as well. Boolean functions might, Boolean subtract could probably work. I'm going to try that too. I'm going to try Boolean subtract and just show you sort of how that works. I've never done a Boolean subtract on a flat surface, but let's try it. Boolean difference, it asks you to select the surface or poly surfaces to subtract from. So I select this. Then it asks me to select the surfaces to subtract with, which would be these. Oh, surfaces. No, I guess it doesn't work. I guess it has to be a surface. I could make them surfaces, though. Let me try that. I'm going to convert them to a planar surface. Guys, you don't have to follow along with this. I'm just musing about your options here. So I'll make those planar surfaces. And if I do a Boolean difference, select that as the one to subtract from, select those as the one to subtract. Nope.
Okay,
Don't do it. It
no.
didn't
I
work.
was just making notes. Did it happen?
There is a way to do that, I swear. There's got to be.
I'm sure it is. Hang on. No,
Anyway,
it's-
so for now, I'm just going to go with trim. Whoop, no, sorry, I did it wrong. Trim, select all of the hexagons as your cutting objects, and then, again, let's continue on cutting them out like this. Oh. Darn. I keep screwing it up. Trim. Cutting objects. These. Enter. There. 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 All right. So, your result then should be this. You should have a surface that is cut with your dynamic pattern. So, what questions do you have?
I'm selecting trim, and it's not going to get out. It's not cutting out those.
Okay, I'll go through troubleshooting. You could not be planar with the surface and then it wouldn't trim, but I'll take a look at it.